What is up, everybody? This is Tessa.
And this is Tricia, and welcome to Strong Female Lead. You know what we do here. We talk about female leads in movies and television and, you know, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. And today we're back talking about women versus technology.
Again.
But before we get into all that jazz, we're going to take a little minute to talk about, what's your week like?
Stuff.
What's going on? Just chit-chat.
Zach and I went and looked at wedding venues in Minneapolis. That's intense.
Yay!
A lot of fun. Very, very tiring. Just a lot of information overload.
And family, probably.
You know what? But I never get tired around his family. So, I mean, his mom and I sat outside. Shout out to Mary Ray. I know you listen. We sat outside and spoke for like 2.5 hours, just the two of us, and came back in, and Zach and his dad were watching baseball. And his dad said, I don't think I've ever spoken that much for that amount of time in my entire life.
2 hours?
I mean, nonstop. Maybe an hour and a half. Nonstop. And it was wonderful. It gives me life. Yeah, I don't get tired around his family at all. So they're a blast. Just a really
awesome.
big Lebanese family. And yeah, we checked out some venues. We came up with the one.
Yay!
I know. So it'll be fun. But that's all I've got going on in the past week. What about you?
Yeah, still single.
Wait, are you doing that? Did you do that contest that you go on a date every day?
We tried and failed at that.
Tell the listeners what it was.
So we were trying to do 30 dates in 30 days. And it was just a shit show with my day job. And I was like, I can't do this.
It's horrifying.
Yeah, and I was performing a lot, so I felt really bad, and I kept like setting these dates up and then canceling them in the
just invite them to come see
minute.
You
That
perform.
would be the absolute worst.
That's hilarious.
If you bombed and then
Love it.
and then your date's there and she's like, that bitch is not funny. And I was like,
No, they just come and
don't call me a
watch,
bitch.
and then you get a beer, and then you're like, so what'd you think of me?
Yeah, funny, right? The crowd, everything I said had legs, and that's all we need to.
It's very obvious, child.
Yeah. Turns out I'm pregnant and aborted your baby.
Ooh. So you didn't go on dates for the past 30 days?
No, but I'm gonna re-up. I'm moving in the next month, and then my life will like return to like after summer and all this like tumultuousness and changes that I hate.
I'm not a fan of change either, because I prefer to feel like I'm in control, although that's an illusion because none of us are in control.
Yeah, but I want the illusion back of control.
It's a bubble.
Yeah, and so I only have to move, and then I will have successfully like made it through summer. But yeah, and then like hopefully in September I can probably October actually. We'll do 31 dates in 30 days, all through fall. We'll have that extra date in there.
Whoa, maybe a little afternoon delight.
Yeah.
Kind of situation.
Yeah. We'll do as many dates as it takes.
You know what that is.
3 and 4 dates.
That's about sex, but that's fine.
Yeah. Well.
Afternoon Delight's a sex song. We're
Isn't there a show where like there's a mom or a dad and a daughter dancing to that and it's really creepy? Is there a show like that? Is that it's Arrested Development.
Is it?
Yeah. I think it's maybe and somebody is dancing to Afternoon Delight, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, hopefully they never catch on to like the meaning of that song." It's somewhere in Arrested Development.
Hold on, I can't believe you said that, because that, you know, Cam, who guest hosted once, her husband did that with his mom at the wedding, like ambushed her with that song, and she started hearing what the song was while they were dancing, and then you just hear people like F-bombing him, like family, like. John, you fucking asshole, just like yelling at him in the background. And I thought I had showed you that video or something. He must have gotten it from Arrested Development then.
I just swear to God, like,
it sounds like something they would have done.
Yeah, I could be wrong. Because your story, Cam's story, does sound familiar. So I was like, maybe I'm mixing them up. But I'm pretty sure it's like maybe and the uncle or the blonde.
Well, that makes me lose a tiny bit of respect for John, because I thought he came up with it on his own.
Still, to do that shit in real life, it's different on a set where it's like scripted, but this is your real family, and like it's
ambush your mom. Nice.
My mom would not.
She didn't seem
well.
happy. No. It's hilarious. I wasn't there, just saw the video.
Oh,
It
that's
was
awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, you're moving. Moving sucks.
It's the worst, but my new place is pretty cool. It's all exposed brick and like very lofty vibes. So
can't
it's
wait.
a smaller space, but I'm like, okay, it's fine.
Where is it at?
It's in Lakeview.
You sass.
Moving slightly south. I'm moving like maybe a mile and a half from where I live.
Yeah,
currently.
but moving on up Lakeview.
I don't know. I think it's a downgrade. Like very in terms of like neighborhood. I'm like I don't love Lakeview. I've lived in Lakeview once before, and I loved the location. It's like
Prime.
super easy to get to Logan and all that kind of stuff, but the Cubs ruin everything.
Oh,
up
parking.
here, literally everything.
Oh, in Andersonville or Lakeview?
In Lakeview.
Yeah.
And so
My cousins live there. They have a really nice house there. It's a really nice area. They say Lincoln Park to people outside of Chicago when they ask them where they live. And now I get it. Like before, I was like, "Why do you live?" They're like, "It's just easier."
yeah. And Lakeview is huge, and like it has those like tiny sub neighborhoods, and like Roscoe Village and North Center, and like you got to be specific if you're from here.
Is Boys Town in Lakeview? I feel like it is. Yeah.
And like Wrigleyville is in Lakeview.
Got it. But Lakeview isn't in Lincoln Park.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Parallelogram is not a square, but a square is a what?
A square is inside a parallelogram. You're right. Yeah.
Right. Like
yeah.
one of the... it just came out and I didn't know where it was going, but I remember learning something like that when I was younger. I still don't get it because I don't get shapes or
Yeah, a
geometry.
parallelogram would be like a square with two triangles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. So you're moving to a parallelogram?
Hell yeah. The best of them.
I'm
not
excited.
going to say where because, the dark web. And
Oh my God. Offline, Tessa and I spoke about how she's basically summoning
I'm not.
the dark web to come to her by
don't.
continuously bringing them up. And I'm summoning Trump by continuously like being like, come on, man, like tweet at us. And I'm going to disappear one day. And you might as well.
I'll know exactly who to come for.
Anonymous.
See me at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Kingsec. Ooh. 1600 Animal?
Pennsylvania Avenue.
Pennsylvania Animal. Got it. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Dun dun dun. Tricia,
So-
what are we talking about today?
Well, before we do this, guys, we will take your suggestions. Please leave suggestions about what movies to watch. We
Yeah.
always forget to say that, and we want to make sure that you do.
Yeah.
So listen.
Even
and
if
do
they
it.
break our hearts and or spirits, like doing a movie like Glitter.
We will
Will
do
be
them.
coming.
Glitter is coming. It's like winter is coming. Oh my God, that's the title of the episode. All right, we already got it. Oh my goodness. So we are finishing out our sci-fi. I think this is our last sci-fi episode. Who knows?
so.
Is it? Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Unless we just decide to do another Black
Keep
Mirror.
it going, yeah. There's so many good episodes of Black Mirror.
I feel like we really... So, guys, we're doing Nosedive. It's season 3, episode 1. And truly, we could do months of this shit. I mean,
Yeah.
it might start to kind of seem a little similar, but there's enough.
There is, like, the Black Museum one with the girl who plays
so
Shuri from
good.
Marvel. I always forget her name. I loved that one. And,
Awesome.
The one where she's the enemy of the state with the bees that are killing everyone.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
I like the one where they track the children.
Yeah.
That one was horrifying.
I love the one where they go on like the Bachelor kind of spoof one, where they're like two people who are like picked to be together because of like the algorithm. They should get along, and they don't. I love that one.
Oh, wait. Is that the one where then they really were a real world couple, though? And they made their way back to each other? Is it that one where they have to go on several dates?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Weird. And they know right when they start how long they're going to be together. They're like 11
Yeah.
months. Great.
Yeah.
Or 4 hours.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Oh.
Don't you kind of wish that was real?
I mean, in a way, it would be kind of nice, but then it's sort of like knowing that you're wasting that time. Like, there's something... I guess I like being able to...
kind of having your control.
lie to myself and say I'm not wasting time. Like when you're in a relationship, you know, won't go anywhere, or you can kind of buy into, oh, this will work. Mm-hmm. But to just know that it won't work, like, and then have to do it.
Isn't
that's harsh.
But then the whole, like, the end of that one, we're just going to recap that episode really quick.
Right.
But the end of that one, and they choose each other anyway, and kind of break the algorithm, or say fuck you to the algorithm. There's only so much math can tell you.
Yeah.
Fuck math.
Yeah. And they were real. They were supposed to be together, I guess. That was, like, how they did it. Whatever. It was Truman Showy.
So much good shit.
It was good. So yeah, we could do Black Mirror forever, but today we are doing Nosedive. So, okay, so this, I didn't know this until I started doing a little research, but the teleplay for this was written by Rashida Jones and Mike Schur.
I know! I loved it. I love Mike Schur so much.
Oh my God. And he wrote the beginning and she wrote the end, and then they combined the scripts. I thought that's such an interesting way to do it rather than writing it together.
Yeah.
And I guess it started off as, like, the lead character was on her way to a work event, but then it turned into a wedding. So it stars Bryce Dallas Howard, and her name is Lacie Pound.
Which is rude.
Yeah, right. And, like, maybe on, like, Wiki Fandom or whatever, I saw that, like, Lacie is kind of like the demure sort of name, buying into the whole, like, pastel sort of issue this universe has, and then pound is like a form of currency. I was like, okay, we're reaching. The name sucks. But it's set in a world where people rate each other from 1 to 5 stars for every interaction they have, and I mean, effectively that impacts their social status.
Yeah.
Whoa.
This really...
I just think about how many uncomfortable interactions I have with people, or, like, when I offend them.
Especially, like, when you're dating, like, oh, this is gonna... I'd probably get a couple 2 stars. Like,
oh my God, I would be unable to find anywhere to live.
What do you think your average would be, like, today?
I'd be in the 3s. I don't think I'd be so, unless I just gave up and went off the grid like that woman, which I can completely I celebrate.
Yeah.
And eventually I might do that. But I'd be like the brother. I'd be in the 3s, and I'd just be like, fuck this. It's never, because I'd be nice and it'd go up, and then I'd get tired of it, and then I'd be like, this is fine. Yeah. I'm fine.
Like, every interaction, I think that
it's exhausting.
Yeah. I think I'd put myself at, like, a high 3. Like a 3.6. Oh. Like, I can be pretty pleasant in most situations.
You have resting smile. We've talked about this. You're one of the high 4s. You're a prime influencer. You're the one who we're going to try to like all your shit so that you like us and I can finally rent a place.
My lack of interaction. It would be, I could only have a high score from my literal one-on-one interactions with people as I go throughout my day. Like, Starbucks employees, love them. Like, Uber drivers,
very nice to service workers, for sure.
But, like, elevator people, I never speak to people in elevators, ever.
Oh my God, I just thought of it. Uber is basically doing this already.
Yeah.
Because we do try to keep our ratings up, and I never get past the 4 because I'm not outside typically when they're there. Like, I have them wait a minute because I just suck with time, and I can't get any higher. Oh my God, I just realized we are rating them based on their interaction.
Let's see. I'll give my honest Uber rating.
Oh my God, hold on, I'm gonna look for mine too. Guys, we're gonna get our Uber ratings.
And this is my real life score? This counts?
Yeah.
For something?
It does.
What does this get me? At least want like a free Uber Eats.
Does Lyft do that?
They do, but I think you have to email them or something to get your score.
Okay.
Ugh, I'm gonna die.
Oh, shit.
In a dystopian universe.
Sorry, I'm a 4.93.
Me too! Same score!
Wait a second. Maybe we would rule this fucking world.
Maybe. All you have to do is show up relatively on time.
I don't know, but social interactions, though, I mean, like, just the way you're talking to your friends and stuff. What if you can't get into a fight?
Exactly.
Or with your significant other? What the fuck?
That would be hilarious. If she was just like one star.
Just one starring each other all night.
Person with 1 stars all night. 1 star.
Oh my god.
Can you go negative? No, you probably just end.
I don't know.
Just take your phone eye chip away and you couldn't even participate anymore.
So the eye chip thing, yeah, real weird because they're basically living inside of the system. So they see the stars and they see a circle around the person's head when they walk around, and it's just
for some reason, like that's the only piece of technology that I'm kind of okay with. To be able to identify people like, oh, that's
really?
Yeah, that's so and so from blah and blah.
Oh, so you'd like something that you see someone that you kind of recognize and it's like mm-hmm.
You met this person on like this day.
Oh, and it just like a text pops up?
Yeah. Like first meeting, like, or like one.
This guy never called.
Fact. Yeah. Avoid.
Oh my god,
like,
I love it.
Block people out from your vision? Like, if you really hated them, that would be awesome.
Their face, oh my god.
They became a blurry dot, like you just couldn't even see them.
Or they just nothing. So like anyone they were interacting with, it just looked like that person was doing something by themselves.
Yeah.
I love that.
I would do that to really delete people from my life who I don't like. It's just like 2 people.
You'd only delete 2 people?
Yeah. Well, I'm just reserving those spaces. I don't have anyone to put in them at this moment.
Got it.
I'll find someone.
I don't either. And they're people I don't see.
Yeah.
So like, why waste it on?
I hate someone. That's why I'm like always kind of impressed with people who have like years long vendettas.
The energy.
Yeah, because that's a lot of mind real estate for plotting. I like a plot, but
we know you love a good plot.
But yeah, but years long, like exact your revenge, but quickly.
Yeah, it's a lot. So like the lead character, like I said, she's Lacie Pound, and she's kind of like this overachiever, people-pleasing girl, and she's just obsessed with her ratings. And she finds an opportunity to elevate these ratings and move into this like super luxurious residential type community saved for like prime influencers or something, I guess. And she realizes that she might be able to do this and bump up her ratings so that she can get into that place after she's chosen by her childhood friend who never seemed to keep in touch with her. She's chosen to be in her wedding. Nay, I love you, Nay. And whatever that fucking Mr. Jingles, what is that thing?
Oh, Mr. Rags.
Mr. Rags.
That thing is gross.
Mr. Jingles, what is that?
That sounds like a villain, like a horror movie villain from a Christmas
I feel like it's
movie.
from Seinfeld, but yeah.
I've never seen Seinfeld.
Oh God, we gotta talk. But yeah, so she's overly people-pleasing. She's kind of a try-hard. She makes me uncomfortable, like if I interacted with her. But the whole situation's uncomfortable.
High, but like behind it, you can just tell that there's just like indifference mixed with rage behind that.
I think it's a lot of rage that like she isn't in the situation she wants to be in, and her laugh is straight up like depressed and maniacal.
I was like, I would never interact with you. I think I do place a lot of value on people's laughs. Like, if I can tell that you're like one of those people who just like is being like a polite laugher, I'm like, oh, that's very disingenuous and unnecessary. If you don't think something's funny or like ironic, don't laugh. But the weird fake put upon laugh, I'm like, what's happening?
And it works against her, and I feel like that's some of the reason she is struggling with the ratings. I mean, the whole system is fucked up. These people just are basically like starring each other all throughout the day in their face, and it's very weird, and basically you just have to suck up to everybody you see. But like something about hers, it just makes her unlikable kind of, and it has the opposite effect. Although the woman she encounters in the elevator sucked also, so I don't know why she had a 4.9 whatever rating, because she sucked.
Yeah,
I didn't get that.
I think just because she had a fancy job.
Maybe.
Yeah,
and it affects your socioeconomic status, like your credit rating, what jobs you have, and then you can't like be friends with someone with a low rating because of her coworker. Oh God, my heart bled for that poor man.
Giving everyone farmers market smoothies. This poor guy.
I was like, that smoothie looks great.
It really did.
He had like 8 of them and no one took them.
I was like, that's rude.
It was uncomfortable. It was scary and I think kind of timely. In terms of media influencers and Instagram, and the more likes people get, the all of a sudden their opinion on what brand of something we should buy matters.
Yeah.
What? Like the Teamy or something that I've heard just makes you shit your brains out. Like all media influencers are all over this. I forget some sort
it's
of
like a flat tummy tea type thing. Okay.
But like it's just we kind of do it. We just don't do it in real time, but we are stuck to our phones the way that they are, like wandering around. I was like, well, that actually looks like us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yawn.
This system, or I don't think it had a name, but like it's connected to like everything you do. Mm-hmm. But it is kind of like your credit score mixed with your Uber rating, mixed with your socioeconomic status. And I'm like, I really did feel bad for Lacie.
Oh my God, I know.
Because I kind of like resonated with her with kind of feeling like sometimes you're waiting for your life to get started, and if you have A, B, and C completed, then
I know.
Then you can start doing other things.
I know. Like, I've totally been there.
Yeah, but also I'm like, you're gonna age out of
I know
eligibility to do some things, waiting for life to be perfect for you to get started.
I know, and it seems like it's so true to life. It's like the never-ending goal, or like it's out of your reach always because the circumstances change and the people involved change, and it's all based on external validation. Their entire life and their survival is based on external validation. Yeah. And like I admittedly rely too much on that in a lot of ways. It's a journey of self-discovery I'm taking lately. But like, imagine if the ability to have a roof over your head completely relied on how you spoke to the person on the street that you don't even know.
Yeah. Oh. I mean, I can see so many parallels. Like, I'm like re-listening to Daring Greatly, the Brene Brown book. Guys, I love a self-help book. It's my new thing. I love them. I know.
I love self-help podcasts.
I don't listen to any self-help podcast. What's a self-help podcast?
There's this woman, Tracy Crosley, and she's like a life coach, and she has a podcast, and dude, she speaks to my soul. I'm like, are you me? Are you like she basically describes a lot of the shit I do and why I might do it, and it's very, very insightful. She's also, I think, a mystic, and I just kind of push that along to the side. But her stuff is like it's legit. It's psychology based.
Got a Marianne Williamson vibe.
I think there's something else going on there, but no, it's awesome. I'll send you the link. It's very, very cool.
Yeah. Well, like in like all of Brene Brown, for the one person who doesn't know, is a shame researcher, and so Daring Greatly talked about like being a perfectionist. Or wanting to be a perfectionist and how like unrealistic that is. And Diane, my therapist, also says that too, about how unrealistic
it's unattainable.
It's unattainable, but it's so appealing.
Like even in the name, like it's not, perfection is not possible.
Yeah, but like Daring Greatly and
Brene Brown.
This is Daring to Lead, not Daring Greatly is what I'm listening to. But
is it him and Brene Brown?
Huh?
Is it him and Brene Brown?
Brene Brown is one person, and then the book is called Daring Greatly.
Oh, I thought it was a person.
Oh, Daring Greatly. Oh, I would name my kid that. What's up, Daring Greatly?
God. Brene Brown's book, Daring Greatly.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me more.
Yeah, well, she talks about like perfectionism and like what is like the roots of perfectionism, which is like an intolerance for vulnerability. And I was like, okay, well, you see that play out throughout this storyline about how she over the arc of her character is like so stuck in the perfectionist mindset, and then as quote unquote bad things happen to her, like she can't get on a flight. It seems like the worst thing that's ever happened to her.
Well, yeah, they do that double down thing where the friendly guard smiling is like, "Oh, I'm gonna take you down a point." Now everything's double damage, and it's just like mew mew. The music's even doing that the whole way through.
That totally reminded me of like being yelled at as a kid, and then like my mom, like the phone would ring, and my mom would just have this like big, smiley, like happy, like really jolly voice, and I'm like, "You just yelled at me, and now I'm crushed." But now you're happy.
But you're
like,
smiling.
Yeah.
Well, because he needs to smile so that other people don't ding him.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's creepy. I feel like it's like infomercial people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm selling you something, but look how great my life is.
Yeah, it was.
I think that the original social media
weird.
influencers were infomercials. They're like, I was a slob, but now I've got a waist trainer.
Brilliant.
And a husband. I don't know.
The Daredevil, was that on an infomercial or was that just a brand? Oh, it's like a vacuum.
Oh, I don't know. I know like the knives that like cut
Oh,
through steel and tomatoes.
Always the knives and the blenders.
And the blenders.
The blenders are always game until Vitamix came out and was just like, fuck y'all, and just wiped them all clean.
Yeah.
BT dub, Vitamix was invented by a neighbor of mine growing up.
What?
The people like 4 houses down. I'm like, we should have hung out more. What the fuck? I didn't know this family was going to blow up into like a multi-billion. I just made that up. I don't know if it's worth billions, but I think
Probably
they make.
they're like $400 blenders.
Yeah, they make a lot of money.
Dang.
I know.
Hey, what's up with that technology and why do they never go on sale?
Yeah, seriously, because they don't need to.
Yeah, they're going to buy them.
Because people will buy them. But the perfectionism idea, I've struggled with my whole life. I'm far from perfect. Like, I'm so flawed, yet I strive for perfection in certain nuanced areas of myself that, like, doesn't even translate to the outside world. You know, like, it's just it's something, I need this part to be perfect, but it doesn't make any sense, and it usually has to do with some sort of reaction I have or interactions, and I can get very anxious about interactions with people and feel out of control, like if things aren't going as I planned, and I would crawl in a ball and die in a world like this. Like it's too much pressure. Like there's no room for error.
Yeah. I feel like that if I could just, the sociopath in me that's mild really just wants to control outcomes.
Most people do.
Yeah. And I was like, the fact that I can't control, like, I think like living in society, like, Lacie, I was like, I can't control whether or not someone gives me a 1. Nothing I can do aside from being like overly like sugary sweet to everybody is going to get me the reaction that I want, which is like to be. I wonder if anyone has a 5.0. Maybe
it didn't seem like it. We didn't see any people that did.
No, not a priest. Oprah.
Catholic priests.
Yeah.
Yep, they definitely have 5.0s.
Really well-liked priest. Pope on his first day.
Yeah, probably not these days. No, Oprah probably wouldn't either. I don't.
Oprah.
I don't think anyone does, is my guess. Like, we probably would have seen someone.
That girl, Nene, had a 4.8.
Yeah, but no actual 5.0s. Like, I wonder if it's not a thing.
Yeah. Who would you give a 5.0 to today?
Oh, my God.
I'd give mine to Lil Nas X. He's pretty perfect. I don't think he's done one bad thing his whole life.
I love that.
Oh, 17 years.
Yeah, he's got time. Oh my God, it's so much pressure.
And Mariah Carey. She can have one too. And
I don't know. God, who would I give a 5.0 to? It would honestly probably be Oprah. I'm really bad at coming up with answers at this time.
She can have a 5.0. She's helped a lot of people. Any products you really like, and you can give those people 5.0.
I really like Nioxin products. They're like hair products. I'll give that a 5.0.
Give the Nioxin.
I'll give the Nioxin, it's like hair thickening stuff. I'll give the Nioxin dry shampoo a 5.0.
I like it.
Yeah. And Oprah.
Yeah, I give Bubbly Water, who I'd like to sponsor my entire life, a 5.0. They're great people.
Oh,
I'd love
also
to give
fish
everybody
food.
who I see carrying or drinking a White Claw a 0.
Drinking a White Claw. Oh, gross.
Just try harder. Just get drunk like the rest of us.
I think Ben and Jerry's fish food. I'd give that a 5.0.
Yeah, Ben and Jerry, both getting 5s.
This episode scared me. And based on what you said also, like the not being able to control the outcome, that's what makes it so Sisyphean and like sad and relatable because we do it in our own way. But at the end of the day, none of us truly control any outcomes in our life. Like they're all based on other people, other things, everything's impermanent, like nothing, it might happen the way we want it in certain areas of our life, but that's not because we were able to control it. And so just the attempt for happiness to be based on stuff you can't control, I thought was a very powerful theme and something that we do in this day and age, just not in the form that they do. And it's sad to see her go through that. And I wonder what the other people, if we would have gone inside of their homes and saw how they were feeling, like a lot of people must have been struggling except for the super high ones who also could be struggling because you have to maintain it.
Yeah, and I liked the interaction with her and her brother when she's like, he's making fun of her for wanting to go to the Nene's wedding. And she's like, well, fuck you, you're doing the same thing with your gamer friends. They're still giving you the same validation. And I think I get that a lot from people who talk a lot of shit about influencers. And I was like, but we're all playing the same game. The fact that they're outright playing the game as opposed to you who, you know, like maybe do Call of Duty for hours or, you know, instead of like some people don't even want to like consider like YouTube a social media. And I was like, it's very much
the biggest one.
It's probably the original of this modern era. It's between Facebook and YouTube. Like,
everybody's
like, you can
doing
play the
it
game outright. And I think I love when Nene calls her out because she's like, oh my god, I thought you wanted me to come to your wedding because you wanted your oldest friend there. And she's like, full of shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank you for having a real moment right there.
Yeah.
And really like laying, like, you know, taking all the trappings down and just like saying what it is. Yeah. We both needed this to work out. I was going to get a sympathy points from having a 4.2 or 3 at my wedding. We're going to finally make it to my level. This was transactional, which is kind of the shitty part of like relationships, and that a lot of them are transactional. A dating relationship could be transactional, a wedding relationship, your
a marriage
with your coworkers, and calling it outright transactional seems to be like so offensive to most people's sensibilities, whereas just leaving it slightly below the surface, everyone seems to be calm with, or like and agree with. And I was like, but just calling it out for what it is, like a gold digger is a thing because it's a transaction. I'm providing you an arm candy and a kept home, and you're providing me security and a nice life. What's wrong with that?
I like I am a huge fan of Lana Del Rey. She's like a queen of darkness in her music. But what I love about some of her albums is, I mean, she's sort of a character. I don't know how she lives in her real life, but the album Born to Die is sort of like an anthem to women seeking out men with money, sort of, but it's just out there in your face, and it's shameless, and it's just kind of like, this is what I'm doing. And I loved it. I love when it's just kind of like, respect,
because everyone's playing the same game,
and the man's doing the same thing, and it can go both ways. It can be a woman with money too, but everyone, like, I don't feel bad for the people involved. They know. Yeah, it's a decision.
I think everyone wants to think that they're in this relationship of equals, and we're going to go and do all things from a place of equality. But I'm like, how realistic is that in actuality? We both come with our deficits, and the transaction is like, you meet me where I am, I'll meet you when you are, and hopefully our deficits aren't the same, that we can build something new. But
no, I mean, I think I believe in love, guys. I am in love, so I believe it, but I don't think that love isn't enough. Let's put it that way. And I'm not even thinking in terms of monetary, just sort of like I've experienced it, you know, and I've learned that the phases of love, it can kind of change, and there's initial, and then sometimes you might plateau, and then you kind of re-up the ante, and like the other stuff has to be met in order for that love to continue and kind of grow deeper rather than like the infatuation level. And some of that stuff can kind of be transactional in like just okay, so this is your chore, this is mine, this is like little stuff, like I like doing this, you like to, I mean, just like the little manageable stuff that goes along with it that you have to participate in, because if you don't, whatever feeling you have will probably go away.
I totally agree. I do not think that love by itself is enough. And I think that idea comes from pretty much women not having a strong enough voice in the world of media. Because normally when you're presented with like, well, the media that women most consume, like a rom-com scenario, it's two people in a vacuum. They both have well-paying jobs. Yeah. They both have friends and like pretty good social networks. Like everything around
They hate each other first.
They hate each other.
Always. Always.
And they both have like growing up to do. And they're able to do that in whatever like various ways that they do.
But then we never see, all we ever see in those rom-coms is when they finally get together. Mm-hmm. What we don't see is the adjustments made once it happens. And actually, well, we do see that in one movie. Blue Valentine is a good example of kind of showing it change and the relationship change. And it's very sad, and they don't all have to be like that, but it does kind of show that peak and then the valley. Mm-hmm. And I've read a lot about relationships and stuff because I find them so fascinating. Like, I've learned so much about myself since I've been with Zach. I mean, it's my longest relationship, and just, holy shit, like some of the issues that you don't realize you have until you're in constant interaction and negotiation with some other living being, they all come to the surface. And I often wonder, like, God, I wonder if I ever would have learned these. Because when you're on your own, you don't have to. You don't have to confront some of that stuff. You can just remove yourself from a situation. But once there's a commitment made, then you're like, oh, I got to work this out. I have to figure out, like, why am I getting triggered by all this bullshit? Or why does it bother me when someone does this? And intimate relationships seem to be where that stuff sort of like blows up, because the vulnerability and our fear of vulnerability and all that weird stuff that plays out. It's fascinating. But I read somewhere about, like, there's the infatuation stage, and that's the hook, you know, and that's supposed to be there because that's how you kind of choose your mate. But it's not meant to last. And then there's the power struggle stage, and everyone goes through those. Most couples break up during the power struggle stage, where you're trying to get your own needs met, and you feel like you might be giving in too much, and you start to get resentful, and that's when divorces happen and breakups happen. But if you're able to ride that out, because no person's perfect, and I don't really believe in soulmates. I do think you can fall in love with several people, and you try and, you know, choose someone that you love, but that also you think, you know, you can grow in your life with. But if you get past the power struggle stage, then there's that like deeper connection, that thing where you really are just accepting each other for who you are. And that's the kind of love that won't ever be like the infatuation, that won't come back. But the better kind is that kind after the power struggle. And that power struggle could be months, it could be years. It's probably years for most people, but like, it's just about sort of riding it out. And that's really hard to do, because you're like, will this ever end? Yeah. Will the power struggle ever end? But like, if you stick around, not that you should stick around with someone that's not good for you at all, but like, if it's just because of these things that you're like, that are gnawing at you, and it's not like a belief system thing or something, like you can't stand the look of the person. It's like, it's natural. Like, that's just how it goes.
Yeah. I think like on the opposite end, as a single person, I think and I would hope that more people are doing a lot of that internal work on themselves to make that like period of conflict be a little less tumultuous.
Hopefully.
Because you can like find someone who this could have worked out if I was in a better place.
Totally.
Yeah. So I guess the one that got away.
Yeah, but
like you don't know, and if you're not there, if you're not in a self-aware place, and I think like coming into like dating as an older person, like not in my 20s, like only really thinking about me, you have like perspective change at like 27, and then for me, I got into therapy, so I was like, oh, I'm doing a lot of this introspective work because like seeing that reflected back on me, like I at that stage, like I wouldn't have accepted the critique from anyone.
Yeah.
So that's work I had to do on my own by myself. So just if you're a single person out there too, like you don't have to look for those things.
Yeah.
To be, brought to your attention from a relationship. That's definitely something that you can be working on yourself. And hopefully, more men get into therapy. That would be awesome.
Totally. No, I agree. I mean, I've been in therapy for most of my life, and I certainly wouldn't try to get into something to learn about yourself. It's just amazing while we talk about controlling the outcome or something, when you're faced with something you cannot control, which is another person. It's interesting how much stuff will come up that you didn't even know was there. And that can happen with family, with a close friend, like any kind of intimate relationship. But that's where those things kind of like blow up for some reason, at least in my case. I just was more fucked up than I realized is what I'm saying. I mean, I thought I'd really like the queen of therapy. And also I've kind of learned like intellectualizing my way through that kind of stuff hasn't worked. And so kind of getting in touch with actually how you're feeling rather than analyzing it, which is very hard to do. That's something that is fascinating too to me and good. But like I have that avoidant side of me. Like it's always very easy for me to say, oh, that one got away or whatever. But it's a lot of a fantasy. There's a lot of fantasy there too, because it's like an attachment.
You're playing out a scenario.
And it's an attachment thing.
Had I made a different decision, things would have gone.
Yeah.
You're still controlling the ending, even if you're just doing it in your own head.
Right. Like you don't know. And it's really easy to get stuck on those. And I've seen people get stuck on those, and I have in the past. And most of it doesn't really have to do with that person. It has to do more so with like my attachment to that person and the idea of them. And oh my God, do you know about attachment theory?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So I've gone into a deep dive per the
Which one are
guidance of my
child 1, 2, or 3?
My
Do you guys
therapist.
know about this? Do you guys know about attachment theory?
Yeah, why don't you explain it, Tessa?
So from what I remember, and this is from Dr. Esther Perel, you should definitely be listening to her podcast because
Mating in Captivity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her book.
Yeah. I was like, that's not the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I know of her.
Yeah, so like kid 1 is like a safe adjuster. So I think like the story that most people go with is that like you're dropping your kid off at daycare. Child 1 would cry for a little while, but then would acclimate itself to what's going on in the classroom. It can be soothed by somebody else should the mother or parent or guardian or whatever isn't present. That's child 1. Child 2 gets dropped off at daycare, kind of goes a little crazy, cries for a long time, can take some soothing from, it probably has like one care provider person that it likes and doesn't really care for anybody else. So it's a unstable attachment. And then kid 3 gets dropped off at daycare. I think no crying.
Yeah.
Just enters a new scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is my own diagnosis of myself. I think I'm an anxious avoidant. So I think I'm a combo of avoidant. So like the way I learned it was avoidant attachment and then anxious avoidant. And I have a little bit of both of them. I get very anxious if there's like a connection that's lost. I don't feel safe, but then I can, disappear into thin air and isolate away and just drop out and avoid also. And so like what I've learned of people who have avoidant tendencies is they like when they meet someone, they feel that initial rush of chemistry, which is natural, but then they mistake it for love. And it's a connection, sort of like what they had in 500 Days of Summer. It's based on a lot of like the same likes and this like kind of superficial stuff, but you feel that chemistry and you attach.
Yeah, you love addicts out there.
And then they kind of, you know, when that person then pulls away, then you attach more. And once you're like linked in, it's very hard to let go when the relationship ends, which is the like one that got away sort of thing. Like avoidants tend to have a bunch of those that they fantasize about, whether it be like during tough times in their relationship or when they're single and they're like, oh, I could, but that's another avoidant behavior. It's avoiding like what's going on truly. Yeah. And it has to do with the caregiver bond and all of that. It's very bizarre. And I really didn't believe we repeat stuff from childhood, but I think we do. And it's sad because how do you fix that? Yeah. It's a learned behavior, so you can change it.
Go back and examine it, which is just the worst thing in the world.
And you don't remember most of this. It's when you're from like 0 to 3. I mean, it can happen later, but also people can develop an attachment, an insecure attachment if they have any sort of trauma. You know, like it can happen later in your life. And I lost my dad at a very young age. And so even though I didn't consciously feel that when I was little, that's like prime for insecure attachment, because then you're looking for that person and they're not there. So it's just a very weird and parenting styles and stuff, you know, when people would say like Ferber method, let the kid cry and stuff like that. And now people are like overcorrecting, and now it seems like they're like coddling their kids, but it's like, you can really fuck them up super young if you do not soothe them when they're little, because they have no control. They will be super, super fucked up.
Yeah, but then like learning that like, how do you like wean that attention away? Like if you have another child, like
I know.
I can kind of see it now. Like some of my friends are on like child 2 and 3, and so the oldest child is like aware that there's another kid, but still not understanding why the attention is not all on them like it used to be. And then like having to interact with this new child or baby who's just like why is this thing so entertaining? It doesn't do anything. It's not a toy. Like,
right.
But why does everyone like run to it and like dote on it, and things you can't understand and also things you can't really explain adequately. And
you can feel them as a kid. What are you? Are you avoidant?
I'm the third one.
Yeah. Yeah. So like 50% approximately of the population is insecurely attached, supposedly. And what I read is most of the people in the dating pool in their like 20s and 30s are insecurely attached.
Oh, yeah.
And you get typically insecurely attached people are attracted to insecurely attached. So avoidants are attracted to anxious and vice versa. And it's because they're playing out the same thing and trying to get a different result, right? So it's like kind of fucked up, but you're one of many. You're in good company. That's the thing.
I'm not attracted to anxious people. I am the opposite. I am avoidant towards anxious people typically.
Right.
I'm like,
but you might attract them.
Oh, 100%.
That's the thing. So avoidance typically, like, it's not like you're looking at them wanting that. Avoidants want nothing to do with anxious people, anxiously attached. But they tend to end up in those kinds of relationships, even if they're not. Avoidance would rather, they don't want any attachment, you know, like because that's how they learn to. Yeah.
It's a different method of soothing. Like I can be self-sufficient. I can't depend on everyone else necessarily.
I know.
Yeah. But anxious people love me. What up, anxious people?
And I get you and love you because I'm a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And
I think yeah, I would say that I think my dominant trait would be avoidant, but I do have secure attachments. Yeah. I
think mine are mostly insecure, admittedly, but I'm the avoidant or the anxious depending on the relationship I'm in and depending on what interaction is happening. I can switch roles. So I can just like shut down or I can pursue. Like, I kind of do both of them. Thank Jesus, Zach is securely attached. I'm very lucky because it is and I can tell he is, and we've had discussions about this, but a lot of it has to do with just home base and were there any kind of traumas early on and, you know, and that kind of thing. And he thinks the best of everyone. So he doesn't get into an argument with someone and then think, oh, well, that's it. I'm never going to talk to them again or something. That's the kind of, like, that will be my instinctive thought with a lot of things. And then I can bring myself down. That never occurs to him because he's just like, well, that person's good. They'll be there. And I don't assume that.
Oh, interesting.
So it's kind of fascinating to see, he doesn't get as like worked up about things, or if there's an argument, he doesn't play out worst case scenario. He's grounded.
Yeah. I think that I'm more grounded in every like other relationships outside of romantic that I'm a little bit more. I would definitely lean towards avoidant. Like, I don't want to go down this path. If you're not who I think you are. Like, oh, I want to believe like what you're telling me is true, but I'm like,
yeah,
everything in me is telling me to not.
Yeah.
But in like my friend relationships and familiar relationships outside my parents, pretty securely attached. Like, if I got in a fight with one of my siblings, I would be like, okay, I'll talk to you later then. Like, what do you want to do about it? Like, we're not going to be not sisters anymore.
Yeah, no, and I'm pretty close. I'm close with my brothers and even my mom, but it's not like, it's like I know they'll be there, but I operate in a disorganized way, like getting those needs met, and I assume, my brain goes towards like protection, fight or flight very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Even in situations where I know that I'm okay. It's weird.
Yeah. And I set my parents like outside of that because I think that a parent-child relationship is unique from any other type of relationship.
But that's the type that secure attachment is based on. Yeah.
But I'm also like, I'm in a place, I've been in this place where I'm just like, your parents were people before you. Their own attachment style has affected how they parent you. Like, they're on their own in that regard.
It can all be forgiven. It's never intentional, but it does happen.
Yeah. And that's why I have to set them aside. Like, because like my other interactions are like, that's my relationship with the other person. This is their relationship to me. Like, I didn't have a choice in this relationship.
But so still a relationship. Yeah. But like, it's not like my being friends with you. Like, I've entered into this relationship. Purely transactional.
Purely transactional.
We definitely went on tangent, but seriously, attachment theory, Brene Brown and Tracy Crosley. I mean, I'm just telling you guys.
Esther Perel, if you're in a relationship.
Yeah, it's fascinating shit. And it's just, I don't know. It's not like you can't be happy without knowing that stuff, but it's super helpful. It can kind of bring in a sort of contentment and also like, oh, I'm not crazy. Like, this is part of how I relate to humans. Yeah. So how do I unlearn? Have we been talking forever?
We're at 55 minutes.
Jesus. Okay. Well, let's see. Okay. Well, shit.
Yeah. Talk about the wedding and the speech and
absolutely
all of that.
Holy cow.
That stuff made me mad. I was mad I didn't like Lacie for doing that. I was like, as much as I did not like Nene, I was really mad at Lacie for doing that to her.
I was not.
I was like, what a bitch move. This is still her wedding. Like, if you wanted to have this like emotional like moment with Nene, then do that to Nene.
But she clearly was out of control at that time.
Yeah, but I mean,
she was nosediving, so to speak. Yeah. So like,
this doesn't make it right.
It's not right.
Yeah, I understood. I understand why she did it, and like the heat of the moment.
Like, she was spinning.
Traveled for all this time to get there.
Spinning.
And, like, but I'm like, oh, fuck you. If someone did this to me, like.
So Lacie agrees to be the maid of honor, and we were back to the transactional thing. Lacie started all of this. So she took a picture of Mr. Rags, knowing that her friend with the high score, Nene, would like it. And so she wanted her to reach out. So she manipulated this whole thing. She started it. So acting like she doesn't know is total bullshit.
And she did it so that she could get enough points to live in that
exactly
fancy apartment community with a discount.
Exactly.
I was like, if you can't afford to live there, then you can't afford to live there.
But she always wanted something better than where she was at, right? And so Naomi kind of calls her out on it, and that is kind of refreshing. But tells her, like, well, first, okay, Lacie gets into a fight with her brother, and then this is just where it all tailspins. She's late getting out to the Uber. She knocks into someone with a 4.9, knocks over their coffee. They take her down a couple notches. Then the Uber driver takes her down a couple notches. Then she gets to the, it's not funny, but it is. She gets to the, I mean, it's just like we've all been there where like everything goes wrong then, because then just the energy you're throwing out there is literally bringing mayhem to you at that point. Like, I do think we can kind of attract that, right? So she's just like, whoa. She goes to she goes to the line to get her ticket. They tell her the flight's canceled. She doesn't have a high enough rating to get on the next flight. So she starts getting mad at the person in line. And then apparently swearing is against the law or something.
Some sort of
like a citation
offense or like a airline offense, and like, oh,
she
God.
can't swear. Profanity. She's like, profanity. So then the guard comes over and he does that crazy double damage thing and brings her down a whole point, and then everything she gets is double. So at this point she tries to get a car. She can only get the kind with like a battery that doesn't really work. She can't recharge it. She hitchhikes to get there. It's total mess. So by the time she gets there, she's in contact with Naomi, and Naomi's like, you missed the rehearsal and I don't want you coming to the wedding, something like that. And well, shit, Lacie is going to that wedding.
She's on a mission.
Ingrid goes west this motherfucking wedding. Okay, she's going. She is getting
everything
there.
But the pepper spray. Oh,
she had a knife.
It was funny, even though I don't agree with her action.
She shows up and she is just total crazed mess. But the thing is, though, I know it was bad, it was rude, whatever. It was this girl's wedding, but it was the first time she was actually truthful at all in the episode. She does love Naomi. Like, you can tell there's a love there, but there's also rage and all those things wrapped up. And she then brings up the fact that Naomi helped her develop an eating disorder, and then she slept with Greg, her ex-boyfriend. That's all we know about that. And she just totally loses it, grabs a knife, threatens to decapitate Mr. Raggles or whatever it is. And it is complete mayhem, but like, I kind of loved it though. There was a lot of oh God, I'm totally losing the word. You know, when there's a lot of damage behind you when you do something. What's it called? A lot of collateral damage. A lot of collateral damage. But it was awesome. It was a total nosedive. So her character starts out completely obsessed, people-pleasing, and then just loses her energy with doing it, sees it gets her nowhere, and then just goes down to basically being completely raw and not giving a shit about what anybody thinks. Your thoughts?
My thoughts is that there's a flaw in this character's agency. And so, like, when we do the SFL, to me, there's a flaw in her agency in that she isn't self-aware enough to know that even though it's easier to point the finger at Nene, everything she said in her speech was about herself. Every action she's taken has been to advance herself. And then her nosedive is ultimately caused by herself from her own actions. So, yes, she displays her own agency, but I didn't like that she blames like every wrong in her life is from looking up to Nene, and like that's not the truth of the matter.
Oh, is that what you thought she was doing? I thought she was just kind of venting about that, but I guess I didn't take it as she was blaming every single thing. That's interesting.
Well, to say that like, oh, well, I spent my whole life looking up to Nene, but so she must have spent her whole life looking down at me. And I was like, that's something a child can say, but she looks like she's like tipping 30.
Yeah.
We should have had some time for introspection.
Yeah, Bryce Dallas.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's like something a child would say. Someone like in their teens, I would say even pre-27 when your brain kind of
she is very childlike, like she's having a tantrum sort of at the wedding.
Kind of how it felt, and I was like, I love the moment when she's in the truck with a woman, with the 1 point something score.
Yeah, who she hitchhiked with and who told her it was just freer to not care anymore. And
I was like, that to me should have been her more of a moment of actual like realization.
But she did have that in jail.
And then she gave it in jail.
She finally, it did kind of become, but again, it was never about her or like looking inside. It was the freedom to like bitch out another person, which of course would be fun if you hadn't been able to forever. And I did love that. But we didn't get to a part where she was
owning her agency.
No.
Like she has the ability to act, which she does, and she does move the plot forward. It's about her and her story. But like I think there's an aspect of her agency that is again flawed in that like she's not taking also responsibility for her actions. Like no one forced her to go to that wedding. At any point she could just be like, this isn't the place for me. And this is an unhealthy choice. Like I mean, for the sake of drama. I mean, I agree with all the choices.
That was Rashida's part.
For the sake of the drama, I was like, okay, I see why all this is happening, but like if I could change anything, I would have just like inserted one scene where she has like
some internal work.
Some sort of internal work that's not just like only based on like pure emotion. I didn't understand the last scene when it first started, and I was like, are these two characters meant to know each other? But I guess like no, like truly seeing someone, you can only really truly see someone when you're at your worst. Do you recognize the humanity in somebody else? Like what is I kind of get it, but I'm like,
I think it was because they were stripped away of the technology, so they took the stuff out of their eyes, and then they couldn't suffer the consequence of saying stuff, and so they just started kind of belittling each other, but like it seemed to be kind of flirtatious in a way, and they was sort of like, I guess I didn't see at their worst. That's when you can see someone. It was when they were stripped from the technology, or the technology was stripped from them. But then again, it's not going to get stripped away from you unless you're at your worst. Because if you're doing really well, you're gonna keep it up. That was interesting. So strong female lead are the components of it for us are top build, agency, and the character has agency and moves the plot along. Top build for sure, moves the plot along for sure. And I was also yes and no about the agency because it was within a confined world similar to White Bear, and her decisions were they were controlled, like by
Lacie's?
By the social requirements. So like in order to have a good credit score, you had to be nice to someone. Like the way the society was set up, I think limited a lot of their agency to be who they wanted to be. That's just how I saw it.
Yeah, I would say in that respect that she has agency because she chooses to play this game. And she has that little monologue where she's like, well, I haven't achieved the things that I want, so I don't have the luxury of not playing along with the system. But I was like, to me, that's like acknowledging that you are making the choice to engage in the system.
Yeah.
But I guess like what's outside of the system.
Yeah. I mean, I think she has it and she doesn't. Yeah. She chooses to do it, but
is that her not liking all of her choices? So acting as though she doesn't have a choice because she has more choices. She just doesn't like the option that is not participating in the system.
For sure. It's sort of like hating your job but not quitting. You know, you really do actually have a choice.
Yeah.
So I guess it was just because it was so contained. And the universe was just like, it was
so pastel.
It was so pastel. Like out of control pastel. Yeah. I mean, I think yes and no. In ways she had it, and then in other ways it was like, well, what the fuck else are you going to do? Like, this is the system you're set up for. Or like with anything, I guess. I mean, shit, I haven't read it in a really long time. But like Lord of the Flies or something, you know, the kids end up turning against each other, and it is their agency to do it, but they're in a universe where it's survival. So I think like when survival is part of the equation, sometimes the agency is there and it's not. It's kind of blurred.
For me, this felt like it's more the pursuit of luxury or ease than it is her survival. Because that woman who is in the truck is surviving.
But how did they get food? And like, I wondered how deep it went into it.
I feel like this is more, this could be like the future version of Us, where there's another set of people living the same parallel life, but just like in a tethered type way. Those two movies could sit on top of each other for me.
Interesting.
I was like, you are choosing this, whether or not you like your choices or not, you're choosing it. And then, because I'm like, not everybody could have like, I assume that they work for lawyers or architects or something, because it was like jobs where it was like Kellerman something, last name jobs.
Yeah, last name jobs. You know those last name jobs.
You know those last name jobs. So I'm like, not everybody can be, you know, lawyers or architects or whatever they are. There must be another class of society that's just not being documented.
I guess because we're just not seeing them, that maybe that's how it makes it feel like this is all existing in this universe.
I wonder if anyone from that social class could achieve a 4.8 or something like that. If you don't have the job,
right?
It seems like that's how the one lady got hers, or
job and
wedding,
apartment,
marriage. If you can't attach yourself to wealth and privilege, is really your life worth living?
Yeah, you're right.
Or can it be saved? Because they didn't save that woman's husband because he didn't have the right score.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where survival can come in a bit, is with the score, you can get a certain type of health care, or you get pushed, you know, to the front of the line for certain things. But shit, I mean, hello, healthcare in the United States.
If you have a certain type of job, you can get really great healthcare. Or move to Canada.
I think she could definitely exist elsewhere, but I think there is a certain level of wanting to or needing to attain some sort of credibility in this society to ensure your survival. Yeah. But that being said, I mean, I'm sure the other people are able to eat and get food and all of that. And
they're just cut out from what would be first world luxuries.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because, like, especially like in the Midwest, mostly pretty middle class people. You've got your North Side, what do you call them? North Shore, super mega rich, and
is that the rich area of Chicago?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of outside Chicago.
It's
like Winnetka. And,
okay. I don't know about the rich Chicago suburbs.
Oh yeah, it's like New York, like Westchester.
Oh,
it's the equivalent.
Westchester, Connecticut.
Isn't there Westchester, New York too?
Oh, maybe.
But it may be Connecticut. I don't know.
I have a friend who was raised there. Yeah.
Yeah. The same thing, like right outside the.
Yeah.
Diversity of the city lives the upper crust.
Yes.
And that's how most cities go. Well, most major cities.
Yeah.
In the U.S. Anyway.
And they go into the city outside. For work.
Yeah, you go into the city for work and you.
I like what you said. There is some agency. There's a choice to be a part of the higher class. And that's not so far-fetched from the way it is in our society. People with more money tend to live longer.
Yeah, we just have a disjointed system.
Magic Johnson,
if we were
hello.
To align all those things into one system, it would be the exact same thing.
I think it's just the social media part and that like instant interactional kind of piece that made me feel like there was limited agency. Like you had to come up with it was basically you were reading a script and you were doing it all day, but she was choosing to read that script because her brother didn't. So I guess you're right. It just, I have a hard time seeing agency in something that's run by technology, but then that's sort of like, well, we're run by technology. How much agency do we have? I'd like to think I have agency.
Yeah. Well, I actually like a kind of find equivalency between her interaction with her social media and like the way that we feel love bombed when we get a lot of media interaction, like social media interaction.
Love bombing.
Love bombing. And you're just like, I am the queen.
That's what cults do to people.
It is.
Love bombs.
Yeah. And so like, that's why I'm like coming to your side a little bit. I'm like, okay, well, if you're born into this society.
Right.
And I have no reason to believe that she wasn't.
Right.
And this is how you get social validation. Like maybe she does lose some sort of agency, just like the girl in White Bear, where if you're, you know, psychologically damaged,
right,
in whatever ways she was, maybe that's affecting her ability to exert agency.
I think so Black Mirror
we've crossed paths.
We've come to the middle.
To each other's side.
This is love bombing at its best. No, I think Black Mirror. I think the question of agency is evident in a lot of the Black Mirror episodes for the male and female characters because of the role of technology and then what people have to continue doing in order to be a part of that world. And it's just like people who, you know, they're in cults or Nexium or that kind of thing. Are you going to look at those people and at a certain point, are you going to say they had agency? They may not have at that point. Yeah. There's a lot of different tools used. Feeding them a ton of carbs, not letting them sleep, love bombing them, like all sorts of weird shit that like can bring people to your side.
That you maybe you're not, you know, in your fully capable mind making the best decisions for yourself.
But I guess you make the or addiction shit, like addiction. You know, and a lot of people will look at it and they're like, well, that person, you know, is choosing to do that. And yes, there was a point where the person was choosing, and there may have been really negative behaviors they were also choosing to do at a point. And there's still a lot of anger, and I get that, like feeling angry at someone, like you're choosing this over me or that kind of thing. But at some point, the psyche is changed, and it isn't a choice anymore, but it's so hard to accept because it's behavioral. So how could someone not be choosing their own behavior? Right. And that's very hard for people to get. If it's physical, oh, they're not choosing to have cancer. Of course they're not. But like you start to lose your choices when certain dynamics and chemicals are changed in your brain. It's fascinating. So who the fuck knows, man?
Yeah, and I also like thought it was really interesting to think of like, I like that this episode of Black Mirror was in quote unquote America because our value as people is so closely attached to our work product, whatever that is. And I was like, oh, I like that because most of these up until season 3 have been in the UK. And so like this would be the first American one to just like really gut punch us.
Yeah, it really made us look like shit.
Really
See what you think of us. Well, not only America, we talked about this a little bit offline, but China has been, you know, implementing systems somewhat similar. And I know we disagreed because there are some things that are going on in the US too, but maybe it's just what they're labeling it. But one of them is a social credit system. I don't know if it's fully been implemented, but it was supposed to be in the pilot testing phase in 2020. So get ready to get scared, guys. Basically, this assigns, and there's a HuffPo article about it, assigns Chinese citizens a score that determines decisions such as whether you can borrow money or get your kids into the best school, and that actions such as defaulting on a loan or criticizing the ruling party can lead to a lower score. So it seems similar to our credit scores except for the behavioral piece, which is where the freedom of speech kind of like...
Where our Constitution protects us for now.
Technically. Yeah. Right? But who knows?
But like this is so interesting with what's going on in Hong Kong, because in 2020 they will revert back to being a Chinese province. So that's why they're fighting so hard. And I'm like, and can you imagine living in Hong Kong with this being implemented? Everyone's getting a 0.
Oh my God. No wonder. Yeah. Fuck no. It's scary. And they already have something called the Sesame credit system, which allows people with higher scores to rent vehicles without a deposit or pay to skip a hospital line. Doesn't sound that strange. It's sort of like a credit score, except the person's score, they always add this other one that makes it wild, except a person's score is dependent on the score of the people in their social circle. Yeah. And whoa.
But yeah, when I think of them as dependents, I kind of think of it as like a child.
Oh.
Our understanding of dependence?
No, yeah,
I wonder what age you get your score.
Person's score is dependent on the score of the people in their social circle, so like your friends.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm curious what age you get your score.
Oh, shit. You have to be a good baby?
16 or something? Well, if your social capital is based on your social circles, then I would assume that you could get one as soon as you're eligible to work.
And then it's very limited, and it's not that, there's always a lower... I just finished reading 1984. Okay, have you read it?
A long time
Yeah,
ago.
I know most people read it in high school. I was not assigned it or didn't read it. I don't remember, but I just finished reading it. Zach's favorite book. He gave it to me 3 years ago. I just finished. I'm not a huge reader. Because it was a little academic. It was hard to get through the first 2/3. Sorry to everyone who loves 1984. But the last third of the book was epic. And
I feel bad because they're making it into a series with Michael B. Jordan, so you could have just waited it out.
Oh my God, really? Oh, I love him.
Right, me too. I'm very excited about it. Or maybe it already came out.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, there's a lower, middle, and higher class and upper class, and it just kind of always is like that. And then the middle and higher just kind of keep switching with each other due to upheaval and whatever. And then the middle class becomes the upper class, and then they have the power, and then it kind of goes out of control and all that stuff. And it just kind of makes me think like these sort of social credit systems, you're born into something, just like you're born into working class, middle class, upper class. And it's very hard to get out of the system you're in. So if it's all dependent on your social circle, it's like, do you leave people behind? How do you get, it's very, just social stuff being relied upon for financial ability and the ability to go to a good hospital. It's the interaction piece that freaks me out the most, is just your relationships are affecting, like transactionally, your relationships with others and the way that you express yourself are impacting your social status. And it does happen in our country no matter what, but the instantaneous nature of it is what like keeps me up at night. I don't like it. It freaks me out.
I think that's why there's the language around it is changing into more social media branding, and you're a business.
Branding.
Because
what's your brand?
The way businesses interact is emotionless. And I think like the thing I like most about Black Mirror is that it's kind of like a logical thinker like myself's like worst, and if only people like me existed, Black Mirror would 100% be happening right now, like in full effect, like every storyline.
What?
Like people who I think who are like more logically brained, like want to logic away the feeling part of interacting with people. It's like if there was a program, like I feel like most of the Black Mirror episodes go like, well, if there was a program that could socially engineer out all the vulnerability and emotion from interacting with people, life would be great. Let's do that for like a Facebook scenario.
But then it always blows up.
It always blows up. And I'm like, and I think that's like kind of that very human thing that's being addressed but not being addressed.
Is there still a human piece no matter what?
Yeah.
And does humanity...
And there's an emotional piece, and that piece is valuable. And that piece is also most often attributed to feminine traits, which is also why I'm so excited that there's so many episodes with women as leads.
Yeah.
Because usually the feminine is the emotional piece, and that's what's usually
I know, over. But at the same time, these women are the ones that are just having these situations blow up.
Yeah.
It makes me sad.
Yeah,
but
because they're denying that thing that often they deny that those feminine qualities in favor of a masculine quality in order seeing it as being a faster problem solver.
So are you saying true. Black Mirror would exist if everyone was like you and then it would just blow up?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I would be the one having a meltdown at the wedding. That would be me. Stripping in the jail and screaming F-bombs at my neighbor in his lonely cell.
Yeah. Well, I think like without therapy, without like friends and family and leveling devices and like wanting to explore that other side that is like that emotional. Like I think I've said like a couple podcasts and it's like I'm always so intrigued by the ENFPs of the world. Like how do you operate?
Barely. That was
but,
that
like,
was
my
mine.
mind is just like none of that makes sense, but I'm like it's like a just like the world is in color for you, and it's very like and it's some very good shades of taupe and some very nice mauves for me, but I'm seeing a full color spectrum over here, but even that could be blinding.
Yeah. I was an EFP. I don't know what I would be. I mean, I tested at like 16. Yeah. Wait, what were you on that milligram?
Enneagram.
What is it?
A 5. Enneagram.
Enneagram.
I'm always a 5. It's so depressing.
What was that?
I'm a 5. Oh, what is the description? You're a hermit who thinks too much and has probably bad attachments to people. It's not inaccurate.
What did I say I was? Oh shit. I know I texted you. I was like the loyalist or something. I like hate authority and get really angry and
what?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. Like I'm always trying to resist, but I can't. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was like I wanted to yeah, I think the 6 mine was like a 5 with like that was like leaning 6. I don't know. Something about like the 6s kind of scared me. I was like, oh no.
Personality tests are scary.
Right?
We need to do a Myers.
Guys, put your Enneagram scores in that. We need to know who you guys are.
We got to do a Myers-Briggs again.
Oh, mine's the introvert. Oh, I guess I can't. What are the N's?
N's intuitive.
IN.
F is feeling.
Nope.
So yours is probably thinking or judging.
INTJ.
There we go.
Yep.
I knew
the
it.
Boring hermit one. Always.
Jesus. Thinking and judging.
Yeah.
Gross.
I'm not judging. Evaluating.
I'm feeling and perceptive. Thank you. But my life is non-pastels. Guys, let us know what you think. All right, this Black Mirror episode really it gave me an emotional hit.
Yeah. Every episode of Black Mirror is amazing. I'm excited to watch the new season that just came out. It's supposed to be really good. I haven't seen any of the 3 episodes that came out.
I know, it's a weird number of episodes they do. Like, I don't get it. Why even make a season?
Yeah, and I was like, Bandersnatch was in January, and I was like, yeah.
It was okay. Season 5
isn't
that great. Oh, Bandersnatch.
Yeah.
Oh, admittedly, I was pretty stoned when I did it, and it was scaring the bejesus out of me, and I was so nervous because I'd always pick like the really fucked up decision, like kill your father or something, and then I got kind of nervous that my decisions were being like logged.
Well, it is Black Mirror.
I know, and I was like, am I getting Black Mirrored? And like I would stop it and then start it again, and I did it a couple times. I did it through till the very, very, very end. Like I know you could think it was the end and then it wasn't, and then you had to keep going, but I really always wanted him to be screwy. Yeah. Isn't he one of the actors from another episode? I feel like he was in Hang the DJ. Maybe he wasn't.
I don't know.
That was scary. Bandersnatch was scary, but it was brilliant. The interactive show or interactive movie, guys, do it.
Yeah, definitely.
But season 5 is not that great. Sorry.
Is that the one with the 3 episodes?
Not that great.
Yeah, I'm interested in the one where the guys are playing the virtual video game and then they're like
doing it.
Yeah,
that one is pretty good, but compared to the other seasons, it's not that great. But that one was, yeah, I mean, it was definitely...
Yeah. The Miley Cyrus one doesn't look so great. But
no, entertaining, but not wonderful. Not compared to these gems that we're talking about. All right, well, that's it for SFL. You wanna follow us on Instagram? Because you should, at Strong Female Pod. You should do it.
Yeah, and then tweet at us at SFL_Chicago when you're watching, and tell us what episode you're watching. Tell us what fucked up shit's going on and what I should be afraid of.
Yeah, tell us, please do it. And Australia, we're talking to you.
Yeah, specifically.
And UK, we're talking to you guys.
Specifically.
And also Facebook. Sometimes we forget that one, but it's Strong Female Podcast on Facebook. But seriously, tell us your recommendations. We love them, and we will make them happen. And if you leave a really, really interesting and poetic review for us on Apple Podcast or iTunes, we'll do a dramatic reading of it, no matter what it says.
Yeah, it'll be scored. There'll be a swell of music behind it. We'll make it really good. Totally.
And you got to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple. Please do it. And oh my God, I forgot. What do we rate this?
I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 of that video where the guy is like, leave Britney alone. And I will find that for you because I love it. What is that guy's name?
What video?
It's like a video of like when Britney Spears was going through her like tribulations, like 2007. And she's like, and the guy's like, leave Britney alone. I will give you, that's my scale, but I'm gonna.
I know what you're talking about.
3.5. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Actually 4. I'll give it.
It was so good. Oh gosh, you just have me thinking of just wild scales. Just off the rails with what the scales are. Then what about that? What was trending last night? I'm not usually on top of this, but it was like Leaving Neverland is a lie. Have you heard all this stuff? There was a mini documentary on YouTube about how the guys that were in the HBO series talking about how Michael Jackson abused them, that they're frauds. But like it kind of scared me how fast social media jumped on it. It's just this small documentary, 30 minutes. Yes, it brings up some good points, like on the record, they've been deposed and they've said, that he didn't assault them and there's still a lawsuit going forward and it hasn't been proven and whatever and all that stuff. But like, damn, just way to the other side, like faster than lightning, just like fuck Leaving Neverland, or I forget what the hashtag is, but I'm doing
Never ever Leaving Neverland.
4 out of 5. Hashtag Leaving Neverland is a lie. Yeah, I'm doing 4 out of 5 of those. I'm not saying I believe one way. I'm gonna find this hashtag. Will you talk while I find this hashtag?
I feel like Michael is always gonna be the one that's always gonna have these big swings in both directions in terms of like cancel culture. Because people really don't want to cancel him.
They do
really
not.
Don't. Because, but it's also like, you got that whole not guilty thing. And then...
oh, God, what was it?
I don't think anybody wants...
I know. Yeah. This is bad.
It's just so much shittiness to go around between Michael and... I guess, like... I've not successfully canceled Michael. I'm going to put that revelation out there. I actually didn't even try to.
Hashtag lies of Leaving Neverland. 4 out of 5. Hashtag lives of Leaving Neverland.
I like it.
Yeah, it's wild. And it started blowing up really fast.
Did you watch the Finding Neverland? Did you watch the documentary?
Some of it. Not all of it. No. And... I don't know if he did it or not. And certainly the documentary isn't telling me 100% he did, and neither is this new thing on YouTube. What?
He's so dead.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
About...
It's different than R. Kelly, because we can depose him, we can bring a new case, or he's very dead. And it kind of seems like this is going to die with him.
Well, it's not.
But I'm like, what are they suing it? Suing his estate for what? Based on what?
Oh, pain and suffering. They're looking.
You have to prove.
They're looking to get millions of dollars if they win. And then and then the documentary came out around the same time.
The assault happens, and they have it on the record with them saying it didn't happen.
I know. I don't know.
Unless there's new witnesses.
I don't know. I don't know. I saw it on Twitter and it scared me because it was just so fast. And I was like, God, we're all going to die.
We're all going to die.
Twitter's going to kill me. I'm dying. Oh, God, guys. All right. Until next time.
Yes. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.